This is the case of Sherry Papin, the housewife who lied, vanished, and sparked a nationwide manhunt. In the quiet town of Redding, California, 34-year-old Sherry Papin was an ordinary mother of two. Blonde, athletic, and seemingly happy in her marriage, she embodied the image of the suburban American dream. That illusion shattered in 2016 when Papin vanished without a trace, only to reappear 3 weeks later with a story that seemed torn from the pages of a horror novel. But what began as a nationwide outpouring of sympathy would eventually devolve into one of the most shocking hoaxes in recent memory. On November 2, 2016, Sherry Papin left her home for a morning jog in her Shasta County neighborhood. When she failed to pick up her children from daycare, her husband, Keith Papini, grew concerned and used the Find My iPhone app to locate her phone and earbuds, both abandoned on a roadside with a strand of her hair tangled around them. A media frenzy and a desperate search then followed. Flyers were posted, search parties organized, and the story gained national attention. Sherry was described as a supermom, and her sudden vanishing terrified the community. Theories ranged from human trafficking to a hate crime, especially when Keith claimed her iPhone had been playing the Message from God ringtone when he found it. 22 days later, on Thanksgiving morning, Sherry was discovered on the side of a rural road in Yolo County, over 140 miles from her home. She was emaciated, bruised, shackled at the wrists and ankles, and had a brand burned into her right shoulder. According to her story, she had been abducted by two Hispanic women in a dark SUV. They had allegedly tortured her, kept her chained, cut her hair, and starved her. She claimed one of them wore hoop earrings and spoke only Spanish. The branding, she said, was part of some twisted punishment. Her return was celebrated. It seemed like a miracle. The case, however, was just beginning. While the public embraced Sherry's narrative, investigators grew skeptical. There were major inconsistencies in her story. She changed the descriptions of her captors repeatedly, and her memory of key events was vague. Surveillance footage along roads and highways near her alleged captivity site yielded nothing. Then came the game changer. The DNA. Authorities had collected DNA from Papini's clothing at the time of her return. The results didn't match any known suspect until, in 2020, the sample was matched to an ex-boyfriend, James Reyes, living in Costa Mesa, California. Under questioning, Reyes admitted that Sherry had stayed at his home for the entire time she was missing. She had asked him to help her disappear, claiming she needed a break from her husband and family life. He said she injured herself, inflicted bruises, and asked him to brand her. He even helped her mail a letter that served as a decoy, allegedly written by one of her so-called Hispanic kidnappers. On March 3, 2022, the FBI arrested Sherry Papin and charged her with mail fraud and making false statements to federal agents. The charges carried serious weight, not just for the lies, but for the misuse of public funds, police resources, and emotional manipulation. In the criminal complaint, prosecutors detailed a disturbing pattern. Sherry Papin had faked her disappearance to garner attention and sympathy. She even accepted more than $30,000 from the California Victim Compensation Board, all while continuing to lie to investigators and her own family. In April 2022, Papini signed a plea agreement, confessing to her hoax. She pleaded guilty to both charges. In her statement, she admitted the story of her abduction was false and acknowledged fabricating injuries and misusing victim funds. In September 2022, she was sentenced to 18 months in prison, followed by 36 months of supervised release. She was also ordered to pay $309,902 in restitution for public resources spent on the case. Her husband, who had stood by her for years, filed for divorce shortly after her guilty plea. He also sought full custody of their children, stating that the trauma and deceit had caused irrevocable damage to the family. After serving approximately 11 months in prison, Papin was released in August 2023 and transferred to a halfway house. But the saga wasn't yet over. In a surprising twist, Sherry Papin re-emerged in 2025 with a new version of the story. In a televised interview and a documentary titled Caught in the Lie, she claimed that her kidnapping had been real, but at the hands of James Reyes, not two imaginary Hispanic women. She alleged he had abused and manipulated her, branding her without consent, and that she had lied to protect herself and her children. Reyes, however, denied these claims, passed a polygraph test, and maintained that Sherry had orchestrated the entire hoax. This wasn't the first time Sherry had been accused of deception. In 2003, her own mother filed a report stating Sherry had self-harmed and blamed it on others. Multiple witnesses over the years recalled her manipulating people, spinning tales, and seeking attention in extreme ways. While mental health concerns were floated, Sherry Papini's actions had lasting consequences, not just on her family, but on real victims of crime who now face heightened skepticism and doubt. The Sherry Papin case is a cautionary tale that resonates beyond California. It weaponized racial stereotypes, falsely blaming Hispanic women and potentially endangering communities. It wasted enormous public resources, including law enforcement hours, forensic testing, and victim compensation funds. It damaged public trust, especially in high-profile missing persons cases where every second counts. And it raised troubling questions about mental health, media obsession, and the lengths people will go for attention. So, where is Sherry Papini now? As of mid-2025, Sherry Papini is out of prison but still under supervision. She no longer has custody of her children and is embroiled in ongoing legal battles related to her restitution payments. She's also rumored to be involved in a book and film deal, a move criticized by many as profiting from a crime. Whether Sherry Papin will ever fully admit the truth remains uncertain. What's clear, though, is that her story, once believed to be a tragic tale of survival, will go down as one of the most infamous hoaxes of the decade. Thanks for watching.